Well, hello. I'd like to thank you, Dr. Watkinson, and also Ms. Kim Bear for making this arrangement. And also, I'd like to ask Professor Jackson for making this opportunity possible. I graduated from Wichita State 45 years ago. At that time, this building obviously didn't exist, and I'm quite impressed to see the improvement of the school in many ways. And also, I'm quite happy to share my knowledge, so to speak, of the open source field in a domain I have been in for the last 14 years or so. And I do not talk that much of technical things today. I rather want to emphasize the business model which spun off or which was born from open source movement. And this movement is changing the world quite rapidly. And this model is affecting not only IT domain, but practically speaking, in almost all domains. And I hope that you can get something worth out of this 90-minute talk. First of all, I'd like to know how many of you have used, for example, Linux, or other open source software. Oh, quite large. That's good. That's good. Okay. So I will briefly summarize what the closed source and open source. And this is applicable not only IT domain, but in many other fields. So closed source, it has been more or less a traditional business model. And if you invent something new, then you either hide and your company use in a way that you can make a differentiation, or you patent your technology and you allow the companies which are willing to pay licensing fee to use the technologies to build the competitive advantage over other companies. And at the macro level, you can say closed source is an exclusive use of your new technology. And open source, if you invent something, then you open new technology for free so that many companies and people can use it and improve if you coordinate the community well. And the underlying thinking is a non-exclusive use of technology. So I saw USA Today a couple of days ago indicating that the president of the Tesla, which is the leading California-based electronic long-range automobile company, said that his company has 3,000 patents. And he said that the Tesla will open source all of these patented technology. And you may wonder why he wants to open source all of these new technologies, right? And well, I will explain you why that movement is good and makes sense. And I like to emphasize that the open source movement, this is macro level movement, and this includes open source software. But I want to emphasize open source movement changed the world completely. The reason why I can say that is internet was developed based on open source movement. And I don't know how many of you knew that internet was developed based on open source movement. So I will briefly touch the history of internet. The internet was developed initially by US Department of Defense in 1969 under the name of ARPA project, Advanced Research Project Agency. And what they wanted to do was they wanted to develop a network which could survive even if the US was attacked by Russian nuclear missiles. And this became internet later. In most cases, as you know, defense-related technologies are highly classified. But surprisingly enough, DoD started saying that all ARPA technologies, ARPANET, I should have said, the foundation of internet, So they said all ARPANET technologies are open and free to use. Even Russian people, you can use this technology for free of charge. Even French people, you can use this technology for free of charge. And they said, please analyze each element of the ARPA technology. And if you have a better technology, please let us know, or please give us your technology. And if your technology is better than ours, we will use your technology for free of charge. We don't pay you, but your name, company name, will be credited in a very visible way forever. And that's the way ARPANET was developed, and even Internet was developed. So there's nothing, as far as the basic technology of Internet is concerned, there's no patented technology in Internet. Everything is open source. You can participate in the development of Internet technology. So if I want to, if my talk is about the impact of open source movement, I can finish in here because all of us know how Internet changed the world, and all of us you know the impact of Internet. Yet many people do not know that the Internet was developed based on open source movement. Now, I'd like to see the further impact of Internet. Since the US did not claim IP, intellectual property of Internet, it became de facto standard throughout the world, including, as I said, Russia, China, all of these countries use this Internet. The surprising thing is, though, even though US did not claim IP, the US as a country, US corporations became the largest beneficiary of the Internet. The US created a dominant position in the Internet, in the use of the Internet, in the business domain as well. Do you know any non-US companies which grew internationally based on Internet technology? I see many Japanese cars in here. I saw many Korean TVs in here, Samsung, LG. But do you know of any non-US corporations which came to the United States or which grew internationally based on Internet technology? Do you know any? There isn't. All companies which grew based on Internet is American companies. Google, Yahoo, Facebook, Microsoft is up to a certain degree, that's true. Cisco, which is a hardware company, Amazon.com, all of these companies are American companies. There is no non-US corporations which grew internationally based on Internet. There was an exception. The exception was the company called Skype, which was incorporated in Luxembourg. But they were acquired by Microsoft about 2 years ago. That became American company as well. So it is rather surprising that the US did not claim IP in the Internet, but the US became the dominant position, secured a dominant position in the area of Internet. And it seems that this US dominance will not change within this, I would say, coming 5 years. So it's a very, very strange from a traditional business point of view. I don't know how many of you know analog TV, NTSC, kind of, up until maybe 10 years ago, the analog TV was dominant, right? So let's look at the history of analog TV. Analog TV was also American invention, just like Internet. And NTSC was the US spec, and largely RCA contributed to development of NTSC specification, and they also had the most patents around NTSC. So if you wanted to make NTSC-based videotape recorder, videotape unit, whatever, you had to pay large amount of licensing fee to RCA, Japanese companies, Sony, Panasonic, Sharp, all of these companies paid huge amount of money to RCA to make NTSC-based TV set. Now, Europeans didn't like that. They didn't want to pay patent fee to RCA. So they make the spec called PAL, P-A-L, which was incompatible with NTSC. The French government, they did not want to pay licensing fee to RCA. Also, they did not want to see the situation where French people end up seeing many other European countries' TV programs. So French government developed a new third specification called CCAM. So in case of analog TV, there were 3 independent specs, NTSC, PAL, and CCAM. And RCA used to make many TV sets, and they sold in the United States. Some of them are exported outside of the US. But surprisingly enough, RCA was one of the first companies which dropped out from the race of the TV units, selling the TV units. Practically speaking, all American companies dropped from TV hardware business. And in case of analog TV, Japanese companies dominated the world. Sony, Panasonic, Sharp, and all of these companies. Sanyo was another company. But interestingly, all American companies just lost in a race of the analog TV business. In case of digital TV, as you know, Samsung, LG are really world leading companies. So US had 2 initiatives which changed the world. One of them is analog TV, and the other one is internet. Analog TV was IP-based, pro-patent business model. Internet, no IP, free. Everything's free. Now, which was better for the US, analog TV business model or internet? And obviously, internet is much better for US as a country, and also much better for the US corporations. So we have to think slightly different way, because in the past, also even now, many management people feel patenting the technology is quite important. Licensing is the way to make money. Yeah, that was true. But if you look at the last 10 years or so, that is not the case. If you, as I explained, in case of internet, that is not the case, 180-degree opposite. And this kind of trend is affecting almost any domain, independent of consumer electronics, IT, medical field. Open source movement is changing the world. And I think it is important for you to know about this movement, to select the company you want to work for, also to understand a new paradigm shift, which is really affecting the world. This is the business week of 2003. So it's an 11-year-old cover, right? The Linux, there were, by the way, about this year, around this time of year, about 2000, they were not sure how to pronounce this. One is Linux, which I like the most because it's easier to pronounce as a Japanese. Linux is the second choice. Linux is the third choice. But Linux became the de facto standard. And this cover said that how a global band of software geeks is threatening Microsoft and Sun Micro and turning the computer world upside down. And this is a Microsoft fly, and this penguin is trying to kill this fly. And now we have to make sure that none of the people who are deeply involved in Linux is trying to kill Microsoft. I think we feel the Microsoft is important for US and for many other countries. And there are a lot of value associated with having Windows in the market. But open source people feel that is not the only approach to develop good operating systems. And what they predicted about 11 years ago was very true. It's very true. So I would like to explain what is Linux. Linux was developed by a person whose name is Linus Torvalds. He was at that time in Finland, even though he is in the United States now. And he wanted to develop Unix-like operating systems without using any Unix code. The reason why he wanted to do, or rather develop a Unix-like OS was, Unix was developed by AT&T lab using digital equipment computer, which I used to work for. But initially, it was almost open source like software. Bell released open all source code of the Unix at that time. But IBM put sugar and salt in a way they want and called it AIX and make it closed source. Sun Micro put another Californian-based source and spice and made it as a Solaris and made it closed source. HP, they flavored in a way they wanted and made it to closed source HPUX. So Unix became many fragmented software, and all of them became closed source OS. And Linus Torvalds didn't like that. He liked Unix quite a bit, but he didn't like the way Unix was kind of spread out and all of them became closed source. So he said, I would like to develop Unix-like OS without using any code of Unix. And I developed the central part, and I would like to ask you to develop the right side in a way I want. I will release all of my code, and so please develop the right side. Then surprisingly enough, many people, and in some cases corporations, donated for free of charge many softwares. And Linus Torvalds picked up the best one among those and said, Nauri from Japan, this is joking, but for example, Nauri Japan produced the best code. So I will pick up the one which Gen donated and combined with my code. And I will release you as a version 2. And please develop the left side in a way this way. And he spec it out. He wrote down the specification for left side. So he repeated this cycle, and this is called IT echo cycle. And by repeating that, the Unix became quite, robust operating systems as we know now. Now, at this moment, Linux became quite big, so there is no way that the Linus Torvalds by himself can choose all of these donated code. So at this moment, under Linus Torvalds, there are 100 subcommittees under him, and maybe each subcommittee consists of 5 to 10 people, which were also selected by the open source committee. And each subcommittee has the role of, let's say, this group is specifically assigned for embedded, this group is specifically assigned to supercomputer. So each subcommittee has a role or associated with each segment of OS. And they select the donated code, and they submit the best one to Linus. And if Linus said, yep, this is good for embedded, yep, this is good for HPC supercomputer, then that code will be included in the next release of the Linux. And if your code is accepted, then in the next release, not only your program will be included, but in a source code, your name will be included. And the new version will be released throughout the world. Then you will become famous instantaneously over worldwide for free of charge. Then what's going to happen is most likely, if your contribution is good, you will be approached by many corporations, by many universities. Maybe you'll be approached by Chinese university, and they might say, please come to China